They told us that the path to success was clear. Go to school, get good grades, find a secure job. And we believed them. Our parents, our teachers, our entire society passed down this formula like gospel. But what if it was never true? This is the story of two fathers. One, a man of titles, degrees, and financial struggle. The other, a man of vision, risk, and immense wealth. One taught from books. The other taught from experience. One said, I can't afford it. The other asked, how can I afford it? These were Robert Kiyosaki's two fathers, and from their contrasting philosophies, he uncovered a secret so powerful, it shattered everything we thought we knew about money. Because wealth isn't just about income. It's not about working harder. It's about working smarter and understanding the rules of the money game. Most people spend their entire lives playing this game blindfolded, stuck in a cycle of paycheck to paycheck, while the rich play by a different set of rules entirely. We are taught to fear risk, to cling to security, to celebrate the predictable. But the rich, they embrace risk intelligently. They understand that security is the illusion, and opportunity is the truth. It's not about how much money you make. It's about how much you keep, how hard it works for you, and how many generations it lasts. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich make money work for them. In the corridors of corporate towers, employees chase promotions. They swap time for dollars, but they never ask the bigger question. What if I didn't have to trade my life away to make a living? What if assets, not effort, were the key? Your house? Not an asset if it drains money from your pocket every month. Your job? Not wealth if it vanishes the moment you stop showing up. Real assets, the kind the rich acquire, are things like real estate, businesses, investments, things that put money into your pocket while you sleep. But you weren't taught that in school, because schools don't teach financial literacy. They teach obedience, memorization, compliance, but not how to build wealth, not how to create freedom, not how to design a life beyond the rat race. And that's exactly what Robert learned. Not in a classroom, but in the real world, through the voice of his rich dad, a friend's father who understood money like few others. Rich Dad taught him that financial education isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. That wealth is not built by chance, but by choice. And that poverty isn't a lack of money, it's a lack of knowledge. Every dollar you earn is a soldier. Do you send your soldiers out to fight for your future? Or to disappear in bills, toys, and things that depreciate the moment you buy them? We live in a system designed to keep us poor, or at least comfortably broke. Taxes take from the working class and reward the investors. Debts enslave. Jobs give us just enough to stay afloat, never enough to escape. So how do the rich escape? They learn the language of money. They understand income statements, balance sheets, and cash flow. They know how to buy assets that appreciate. They take risks, but calculated ones. And above all, they moan us. They never stop learning. Not from textbooks, but from mentors, mistakes, and experience. Fear and ignorance are the greatest liabilities. Most people are so terrified of losing that they never try to win. They cling to job security and fear investing because they don't understand it. But Rich Dad knew the greatest risk is doing nothing. The biggest danger is not taking control. Money is a tool, but like any tool, it can build or destroy depending on who wields it. Robert's rich dad didn't work for money. He created businesses. He bought real estate. He invested in opportunities others ignored. He didn't chase job titles. He created value. He didn't say, I can't afford that. He trained his mind to ask, how can I? And that one question changes everything because it shifts your brain from limitation to possibility, from victim to creator, from being owned by your circumstances to owning your future. The poor dad saw money as a necessity. The rich dad saw it as a game, and he learned to play it well. Most people get stuck because they let emotions rule their decisions. Fear, greed, pride. They get a raise, they spend more. They buy liabilities and call them assets. They never pause to ask, is this helping me build wealth or keeping me trapped? Meanwhile, the rich leverage emotions. They don't avoid fear, they use it. They feel it and act anyway. They don't work harder. They think sharper. They build pipelines of income instead of hauling buckets of water every day just to survive. And the most powerful shift? They stop chasing money and start attracting it. Because money flows to those who understand how it works. It flows to those who create value, solve problems, and take calculated risks. And the ultimate lesson from Rich Dad? Money doesn't make you rich. Knowledge does. Mindset does. Financial literacy does. You don't need to be a genius. You don't need a trust fund. You need a shift, a decision, a fire inside that says, I will no longer live in ignorance. I will no longer be a slave to the paycheck. I will learn, I will grow, and I will break free. And it begins not with money in your pocket, but wisdom in your mind. Because here's the truth that nobody tells you. Being broke is temporary. Being poor is a mindset. When Robert was 9 years old, he didn't have wealth. He didn't even have lunch money. But what he had was curiosity, a hunger to understand. And that hunger led him to Rich Dad, into a lesson most adults never learn. If you want to be rich, you have to think differently. Most people react emotionally when it comes to money. They're driven by fear, fear of not having enough, fear of losing what little they do have. So they play it safe. They stay in jobs they hate. They live for the weekend. They trade time for security, not freedom. And in doing so, they sell their future 1 hour at a time. But Rich Dad taught that fear is the greatest teacher, if you let it be. When you feel discomfort, it's life trying to get your attention. Most people run from it. The rich lean in. They ask, what is this trying to teach me? They know that failure isn't the end. It's information. It's feedback. It's growth. And so, Robert learned, not from textbooks, not from school, but from sweeping dusty store shelves for 10 cents an hour, from feeling exploited, from being angry enough to ask questions, from realizing that most people spend their lives doing what he did those 3 Saturdays, trading hours for coins and calling it a living. And he realized that's not life. That's survival. And he wasn't born to survive. He was born to thrive. But to thrive, you need financial intelligence. Not just the ability to earn, but the ability to manage, multiply, and master money. Rich Dad said it clearly. The poor and middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them. That single sentence shattered the illusion. Because if money could work for you, then why were millions working for it? Because they never learned the game. So Robert kept learning. He learned that jobs are a short-term solution to a long-term problem. He learned that taxes were designed to punish the working class and reward the investor class. He saw that his poor dad, despite being educated and well-paid, was trapped because he didn't know how to make money grow. He knew how to earn it, spend it, and save it, but not how to multiply it. Rich Dad knew better. He didn't teach his kids to be employees. He taught them to be owners. Owners of businesses, owners of assets, owners of their time. You see, the wealthy understand the power of leverage, of systems that work even when they sleep. They build businesses that earn without them. They invest in real estate that pays monthly. They put their money in motion, and motion builds momentum. Momentum builds wealth. Most people stop learning after school. They think graduation is the end. The rich know it's just the beginning. Real education starts when the school bells stop ringing, because life is the real teacher, and money is the final exam. Will you pass? That depends on whether you're willing to ask the uncomfortable questions, to unlearn what you've been taught, to stop chasing a salary and start creating value. Rich Dad didn't teach how to save. He taught how to invest. He didn't focus on income. He focused on cash flow. That's the game the wealthy play. And that's the game anyone can learn, if they choose to. But here's the twist. It's not just about money. It's about freedom. True wealth isn't measured by your bank account. It's measured by your choices. Can you wake up and do what you want? Can you walk away from a job, a boss, a system that doesn't serve you? Can you take time for your health, your family, your dreams, without asking permission? If not, then you're not free. You're just well decorated in your cage. Rich Dad once said, the moment you decide to be financially educated, you choose power over fear. Because knowledge is power, not memorized facts, but applied wisdom. The ability to see opportunity where others see risk, to act boldly while others hesitate, to build when others are afraid to start. So Robert took the road less traveled. He listened to the man with no degree, no titles, but a deep understanding of how money worked. He studied assets. He watched investments grow. He learned that a paycheck is a leash, and that real wealth is built one decision at a time. And now, you have that same decision. You can keep doing what you've always done. Keep working for someone else's dream. Keep saying, "I can't afford that," and locking your mind in a box. Or, you can ask a better question. How can I afford that? How can I break free? How can I learn to build wealth? Real wealth, not just income. Because the greatest asset you'll ever own is not your house, your car, or your job. It's your mind. Train it, stretch it, feed it, let it learn the language of money, and it will reward you for life. The rich are not smarter. They are not luckier. They are just financially educated. They took the time to learn what others ignored. They made mistakes and kept going. They felt fear and acted anyway. They understood one truth that changes everything. You are not a victim. You are a creator. And money? Money is not the goal. Freedom is. Then listen closely, because this is where the shift happens. The middle class buys liabilities they think are assets. Cars, big homes, gadgets that lose value the moment they're purchased. They work harder, earn more, and spend more. They call it success, but it's a silent trap, because every extra dollar earned is taxed, spent, and gone. They move up in lifestyle, not in wealth. They think they're climbing the ladder, but the ladder is leaning on the wrong wall. Meanwhile, the rich buy freedom. They buy time. They buy options. They don't spend to impress. They invest to grow. And they know something crucial. You are either building someone else's dream or your own. Rich Dad taught Robert a radical truth. Mind your own business. Even if you have a job, even if you punch a clock, never forget, your ultimate goal is not to be an employee. It's to build your own vehicle, your own stream of income, your own wealth machine. Because a paycheck may feed your present, but assets feed your future. So Robert started early. He learned to read financial statements. He watched businesses work. He bought real estate. He learned by doing, by failing, by rising again. And through it all, he carried one principle. Don't work for money. Make money work for you. You see, money is like fire. It can warm your home or burn it to the ground. It depends on how you use it. And most people, they play with fire without learning how to control it. They earn and spend, earn and spend, all while their debt grows, their freedom shrinks, and their dreams die quietly in the background. But Rich Dad knew better. He knew that wealth wasn't found in the numbers, but in the mindset of ownership, of delayed gratification, of discipline, of vision. Most people want to get rich quick. The rich focus on getting rich right. They know the power of corporations, of tax advantages, of legal structures. While the employee pays taxes first and spends what's left, the business owner earns, spends, and is taxed on what remains. It's not a loophole. It's the system. And it's a system you can learn if you stop thinking like a worker and start thinking like an owner. The difference? Ownership gives you control. Control over your time, control over your income, control over your destiny. But control comes at a price, responsibility. The poor and middle class want someone to take care of them. A job, a government, a pension. The rich take care of themselves. They learn, they adapt, they act, and they understand this. The moment you depend on others for your financial survival, you give them the keys to your life. So Robert took the keys back. He invested, he failed, he tried again, he started businesses, he bought properties, and he kept his mind sharp because he knew the most dangerous place to be is comfortable. Comfort is the enemy of growth, and financial education is a journey, not a destination. Most people stop learning after college. The rich never stop. They read, they attend seminars, they ask questions, they surround themselves with people who challenge their thinking. They know that ignorance is expensive and curiosity is profitable. So what do you do now? You start where you are. You don't need millions. You don't need permission. You need perspective. You need hunger. You need to shift your thinking from I can't to how can I? And then you move. Start learning. Start saving. Start investing. Start building. Even if it's slow, even if it's small, momentum is everything. And once you build momentum, nothing can stop you but you. This is your moment, because every generation has a choice to repeat the patterns of the past or to break them, to hand their children the same old beliefs, or to raise them with vision. Rich Dad didn't just give Robert money, he gave him tools. Tools that built empires, that created freedom, that changed lives. And now, those tools are in your hands. You can choose to live below your means, shrink your dreams, and stay in the shadows. Or you can rise. You can educate yourself. You can learn the language of money. You can build assets. You can claim your freedom. Not someday, today. Because the game is being played, with or without you. And the only question is, will you be a pawn in someone else's system or the architect of your own? The rich are not special. They are not chosen. They are simply aware. They play to win, while the rest play not to lose. So what will you choose? Then let's keep going, because this is the part most people never get to hear. If you're still listening, it's because something inside of you knows there's more. More than working 40 years in a cubicle. More than waiting for raises that barely outpace inflation. More than hoping the government or a pension plan will be enough. And you're right. You weren't born to just survive. You were born to create, to lead, to live freely, not fearfully. But fear is what keeps most people frozen. Fear of not knowing enough. Fear of losing money. Fear of failing. So they sit, they wait, they shrink. They justify the job they hate. They convince themselves they're doing the right thing, even as the light in their eyes slowly fades. Rich Dad said, fear and desire, those are the two emotions that control most people's lives. Fear of being broke and desire for comfort. And so people go to work not to learn, not to grow, but to escape fear, to chase comfort, to stay safe. But safety is a myth. There is no job security. There is no guaranteed future. And the people who build true wealth know this. That's why they don't seek security. They seek mastery. Mastery over their mind, their money, their time, their choices. They know how to take a dollar and make it a seed. They plant it, water it, protect it, and eventually it grows into a tree. And from that tree comes fruit, passive income, freedom, power. So what does it take? It takes courage. It takes patience. It takes unlearning the lies you were taught by people who meant well, but didn't know any better. People who told you debt was normal, that saving was enough, that your house was your greatest asset. They were wrong. Your mind is your greatest asset. Your ability to adapt, to grow, to pivot, to think independently. Because here's the secret. Wealth doesn't come from chasing money. It comes from solving problems, from providing value, from seeing what others ignore, from being bold when others play small. Rich Dad didn't tell Robert to avoid mistakes. He told him to embrace them, to learn from them, to get back up and try again. Because failure isn't the opposite of success, it's the price of admission. The poor avoid failure, the rich use it. Every property Robert bought, every business he built, every investment he made was a result of learning, of applying, of taking risks most people would never dare. And that's the difference. Not talent, not luck, not privilege, just the willingness to see the world differently and act on it. So where do you start? Start by understanding this. You are already in the game, whether you like it or not. Every dollar you earn, spend, or save is a vote, a choice, a direction, and the system is rigged against those who don't understand it, but it favors those who do. So learn the rules. Learn about assets and liabilities. Learn about taxes, corporations, inflation, and debt. Learn how to build something that doesn't need you to punch a clock. Learn how to escape the trap, because make no mistake, it is a trap. The rat race. The cycle of wake, work, spend, repeat. It's designed to keep you too tired to think, too busy to build, too scared to quit. And the moment you see it for what it is, you'll never look at money the same again. You'll stop asking for permission. You'll stop hoping for raises. You'll stop waiting for someday. And you'll start asking new questions, having new conversations, building new habits. You'll start thinking like the rich, not out of greed, but out of purpose. Because you know that wealth isn't about yachts or watches. It's about time. Time to live your life on your terms. That's what this is all about. Not the cash, not the status, not the applause, but freedom. To wake up when you want, to work on what excites you, to give generously, to teach your kids what school won't, to live a life that reflects your values, not your fears. So today, make a vow to break the cycle, to stop thinking like the poor dad and start thinking like the rich dad, to stop waiting for change and become the change. Because no one is coming to save you. No government, no boss, no miracle. The hero is already inside you. You just have to wake him up. Then let's finish this journey, not with a whisper, but with a roar. Because now, the decision is no longer out there. It's right here, in you. The story of rich dad, poor dad was never about two men. It was about two mindsets, two worldviews, two futures. And every single day, you choose which one you follow. One says, that's not my job. The other says, how do I own the company? One says, I can't afford that. The other says, how can I afford that? One says, play it safe. The other says, play it smart. Every decision, every thought, every belief either builds your cage or builds your wings. So what will it be? More of the same, or the courage to change? Because freedom is not given, it is earned, not with sweat alone, but with strategy, not with labor alone, but with literacy, not with obedience, but with ownership. And the first ownership is ownership of your mind, your thoughts, your habits, your excuses, your potential. The world doesn't need more employees. It needs more visionaries, more rebels, more people who refuse to play small just because everyone else does. That's what Rich Dad taught Robert, and what Robert is passing on to you. Not a map, not a promise, but a mirror. Look into it. See the truth. Your future is not written yet. Your story is not finished. And your wealth, real wealth, starts the moment you stop blaming the system and start mastering it. Because you are not just someone in the crowd. You are a builder, a creator, a force. And the world has told you to settle for less. But you didn't come this far to listen to lies. So rise. Learn how money moves. Build your own business. Buy your first asset. Read another book. Invest in yourself relentlessly. Teach your children what school never will. Talk about money openly. Take one step, then another. Stack skills. Stack assets. Stack belief. And when the world says you can't, smile. Because by then, you won't need their permission. You'll have built something unshakable. Not just wealth, but wisdom. Not just freedom, but legacy. And when your children ask you, how did we become free? You won't say, I got lucky. You'll say, I learned, I changed, I built. That's the power of financial education. That's the legacy of Rich Dad. And that is the future you now hold in your hands. It starts now. Go and never be poor again.